Chapter 2, Principle 2, People Need to Understand Who You Are. I need to throw out a disclaimer regarding the previous chapter. Networking is not the only way people land jobs. I remember after I started Jibber Jobber and was a strong advocate of the power of networking, I went to lunch with a guy I had just met. He had recently landed an awesome job at an awesome company. I was so excited that as soon as we sat down, I asked him to tell me the story of how he landed such a great role. I was sure I knew the answer, and I was totally wrong. Very nonchalantly, almost bored, he said, "Well, I applied on a certain popular job board at the time, got an interview, and then an offer. It was easy and had nothing to do with networking." While networking is really important, there are other tactics and tools I will discuss throughout this book to use in your job search to help you find and land the right role for you. Your personal brand is a big part of it. Personal branding is one of my favorite topics because of how important the right personal brand is in a job search. I learned about the power of personal branding the hard way. When I started my job search, I had a personal brand, but it wasn't the right one for the job I wanted. I wanted to get a local job, but I had spent the previous 18 months working at a very small company in an industry that had no local clients, which meant anyone who knew who I was didn't live in our area. Meanwhile, my competition had gone to college, maybe even high school in the area. Local hiring managers knew who they were. I knew that to get a local job, I needed to do something to get my name out there. I was familiar with the basic tools everyone knows all too well, like resumes, a LinkedIn profile, cover letters, and other personal marketing assets. But when I learned about personal branding and how it goes hand in hand with networking, my eyes were opened to a better way to find a great job. Since then, I have spoken a lot about personal branding. I consider it one of three critical elements of career management. The other two are networking and creating multiple streams of income to have what I call income security as opposed to job security. On one particular occasion, I was speaking about personal branding to a group of MBA candidates at a prestigious university on the West Coast. One of the speakers before me spent her entire session speaking about personal branding. I was glad I saw her presentation so I could avoid sharing the same information she shared. What happened after her presentation, though, would become an important part of my own understanding of personal branding. I overheard a student walking out of the auditorium say to another, "I still have no idea what personal branding is." After a presentation that was more than an hour long, this MBA student, who I do not doubt was highly intelligent, given the university he was attending, didn't understand the basic concept of personal branding. How was this possible? As I considered this, I realized that although I could easily speak about personal branding for an hour or two, I didn't really know how to succinctly summarize it either. Until right then, when it came to me. Personal branding, I now say, is simply how others perceive you. How others perceive you. This very short phrase, how others perceive you, is more powerful than you might imagine. Too often, people think personal branding is how they describe themselves, what their tagline is, or their 30-second elevator pitch. They can spend hours on personal branding exercises to understand who they are and come up with some very clever branding statements. But no matter what you do, say, or intend, people might perceive you completely differently. Perhaps you think your brand is that you are a great salesperson, programmer, product manager, or strategist. But people might perceive you to be forward and grumpy. What you do professionally might not even matter because the prominent parts of your brand are those characteristics.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.